Hello and welcome to this episode of WWRD. What would a regulator do? Now, I have mulled over the topic for this WWRD episode and wondered whether to do it or not. But to be honest, it is probably the number one question I get at any industry event that I attend or do, or even coming through on WWRD email hotline or with clients. And it's around resourcing for fund management companies. So I've decided to take the plunge and cover that as the topic for this WWRD episode. So the question is twofold really. What do I think is going to happen about resourcing of fund management companies at the end of the CP86 inspection process that's ongoing at the moment? And if increased resources are going to be required, what kind of time frame will there be for firms to get those resources into place? Answers to those questions, well, firstly, in terms of the resourcing of the management companies, there is one regime for management companies and it applies across the board regardless of when firms were authorized. So I think it is fair to expect that firms authorized a little while ago that have resourcing models quite significantly less than anything authorized recently can expect to be pushed up and to get their resourcing levels in the same area as new ManCos. Everything being subject to nature, scale and complexity, so it won't be the same for everybody. It'll depend on the activities of the firm. But as a general rule, there's only one way it's going, and that's up. The really interesting question then is the timing around this. Now, let's look at this first from a regulatory perspective, let's say. So from a regulator's perspective, CP86 was finalised, having given an 18-month transition period. It came into effect about nearly 18 months ago at this stage. So you're looking at it from a regulator's lens, you're thinking, well, we've had 3 years, we'll probably have another 6 months before we get to the end of the inspection process and the outcome is published. That's quite a long time already. Why would I give more time? So I think it would be natural to expect the regulator to be probably a bit impatient at this stage and just want to get on with it and get this done and put away. And this issue resolved, and now let's look more at incremental improvements for ManCos. Get on with our lives from CP86. So that's fairly natural instinct from a regulatory perspective. From an industry perspective, that's the tricky one. And you've got a couple of issues at play there. Firstly, there are no dole queues full of risk and compliance experts looking for DP roles. It's a tight labour market. And it's quite difficult to get the skills that you need. And the chances are you're not going to get pre-built and ready-made DPs to take up certainly some of the roles. So you're going to be involved then in training and trying to lead people up the learning curve where they need to be. And there's going to be an element of development there. So it's going to be tricky to get the staff that you want. You're probably not going to get a ready-made solution. You're probably going to have to work with them and get them up the learning curve. The other thing that plays into this, though, is the fitness and probity regime and the upcoming senior executive accountability regime, both of which make it harder to get through approval with the regulator because, of course, they're looking for people who are fit and proper and people who are suitable to be in senior positions in regulated firms. And then, of course, with SEER, you're really pinning the accountability onto the individuals and making it a more onerous role and onerous responsibilities, and to be honest, less attractive than it maybe had been in the past. So harder to get people because the talent pool is small and under pressure, and then harder to maybe convince them that they want to step up to an F&P type role. So there are risks there and there are challenges there, and I think looking at it from between the industry and the regulator, you can understand the regulator wants to get on with it and get it done. You can understand from an industry perspective some nerves about the timing that might be involved. I think if I was advising industry, I would say better to act now. It's, you know, the writing's on the wall. It's pretty clear this is the direction of travel, and you might be in a better position if you start to act now versus waiting. From a regulator perspective, I think it's worth, you know, accepting or acknowledging or trying to work with those concerns and understanding the kind of labour market that's there and the difficulty perhaps in encouraging people into F&P type positions because of the responsibilities. So maybe there's more to do there and to be a bit sensitive around that. But yeah, it's coming, so be prepared, and it's going to happen. Even with a bit of sympathy, it's going to be in reasonably short order. Okay, I don't think I have anything else to say on that. You, Silent Bob, you're all good. Okay, thanks very much for listening. We'll catch you next time on WWRD.